All right, Jay, you know what time it is. As we do with the primers, we do a little betting preview mixed in with these. It's a nice way to kind of look at the lay of the land and what the markets expect. So most regular season receiving yards is where we kick this thing off. There is no surprise who the top two guys are. Justin Jefferson at plus 550, Jamar Chase at plus 600. And then it kind of opens up from there, Jay. So how do you evaluate this market from the top and maybe something off the board?
Yeah. So, guys, Michael Thomas is 60 to 1. No, I'm kidding. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I know I don't want to suck up to Matthew, but he's 35 to 1, which to me is a little bit too long. I mean, he's so long that he's not even on the board. Like, Amon-Ra St. Brown has more upside, I think, than guys like A.J. Brown to lead the league in passing yards as the number one option on an elite offense. We've talked about it a lot, but his schedule is so friendly in terms of not having to play in the cold, which Jared Goff hates, in the back end of the season. Another long shot who I like, just because of the upside and the variance, Calvin Ridley's 50 to 1. Calvin Ridley, I think, has the scope and the talent where if it just clicks, he could potentially do that, but it's going to be pretty hard going past Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, and then Tyreek Hill, who was the front runner in this market for a lot of last season, plus 900, but I would look a bit further down the board at guys like Amon-Ra and Ridley.
I'm just going to say, I'm sitting there looking at Stefon Diggs at 20 to 1, right? I mean, like, we have yet to see like that magical, crazy season from Stefon Diggs. Like he's had flashes of it.
Every year it's just 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns.
Very, very good.
Right.
Never the best.
Very. But I'm just saying, like, the Bills haven't fully put it together yet, right? We keep waiting for and maybe this is the year that they all put it together. And like, I mean, Diggs has the talent and the quarterback and the scheme to be a 2,000-yard receiver. I'm not saying he's going to. Right. It's much more likely that he's in the 1,400-1,500 range. But like, if things go right, if Gabe Davis becomes a thing and suddenly starts drawing some talent, like again, like Stefon Diggs is somebody that, you know, has there are things in there that wouldn't be crazy for Stefon Diggs to lead the NFL in receiving yards, and 20 to 1 strikes me as a little bit too high.
100%. And I think like it doesn't make any sense to me that Jamar Chase is like 10 to 1 to an offensive player of the year and Stefon Diggs is like 40 to 1. Like that's too far apart for those guys. The only thing with Diggs and what gives me pause is just the weather in Buffalo in the second half of the season. And every year they just lose one game in terms of statistical production. A couple of years ago, it was the Patriots game and the crazy wind, which is like, oh, well, we just can't throw the ball at all. There's always a snow game. So that would be the one thing. But if he can just run good a little bit on the weather front, then he's absolutely got the talent to do that.
Let's jump into the receiving touchdowns leaders here. That is also led, Jamar Chase is at the top of this one at plus 400. Travis Kelce gets a big bump in this range at plus 500, Jay, followed by Cooper Kupp, who's only at plus 550, and then after Kupp is when the board kind of begins to open up.
Yeah, so the big difference between this and the previous market is Travis Kelce, who just has so much more touchdown equity, but perhaps not the upside to actually lead the league in passing yards. The guy who's interesting to me among the favorites is Davante Adams is 14 to 1. Yeah. Davante Adams has had double-digit touchdowns 6 of the past 7 years. Obviously, a lot of that was with Aaron Rodgers, but he had 14 touchdowns last season, and I think the reason why he's so low here is just the thought that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to get injured at some point and then it drops off a lot. But I don't know. I think that he's just going to get pumped with targets, and I think that he is a guy who could do it. And then not even listed here is Tyreek Hill, who's 22 to 1 as well, where I think that Tyreek Hill, people think of him because he didn't have that many touchdowns last year, but he does have a 15 touchdown season on his resume. So I think he is a guy with upside to do this as well.
I'll tell you one guy that really jumps out to me on this list is, you know, you talk about all the touchdowns that Davante Adams scored so many years. Well, because the guy that thrown to him was Aaron Rodgers. How about the guy Aaron Rodgers is going to throw to this year? That's Garrett Wilson, who's 22 to 1, plus 2,200 here. And just, I think that Rodgers, for a variety of reasons, one, because he's the best player on the team, but also because he wants to show the New York media, like he also wants his own stats. Like, how many times did you see the Packers come up to like the 3-yard line? There's A.J. Dillon in the backfield, and you're like, oh, here we go up the middle. And then Aaron Rodgers just kind of looks over and
puts his arm up.
Does just whatever. Yeah. And then Davante Adams runs a quick slant, and then boom, touchdown, 17. And like, I could see Garrett Wilson getting a lot of those cheap kind of touchdowns. If Aaron Rodgers wanted to make him his Davante Adams, he's already in the press, compared him to Davante Adams. Like, there's a scenario where Garrett Wilson just has a monster season because Aaron Rodgers wants that to happen for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, there's some value with him at plus 2,200 because as Chase is the favorite, I mean, he plays an offense with T. Higgins, who's phenomenal in the red area. Same with A.J. Brown, who plays with Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. For the Jets, It's Garrett Wilson out of the pass catchers in the red area, and you even heard Rodgers go up to him after that touchdown against the Giants, and he said first of many. So he's been pretty vocal about what he thinks Garrett Wilson can do. All right, let's look at regular season receptions. No surprise that Cooper Kupp is at the top of this one, Jay, plus 500. Of course, Jamar Chase always hovering around along with Justin Jefferson, plus 600 and plus 650. And then once again, you get a board that starts to even out a little bit more.
Yeah, Kupp is deservedly the favorite. I mean, that is, there are other elements to it, but the biggest component of that is just him staying healthy. If he plays 17 games, then he is a big favorite to take that home. Again, Amon-Ra, 18 to 1.
I was just going to say,
too big for mine. CD Lamb as well, 20 to 1. CD Lamb was like 3 receptions off being fourth last year. Yeah, 8s was 4 off. So I don't mind him either, but
Amon-Ra at 18 to 1, come on. Who are we kidding here?
Take offense to that? No.
I do take offense to that. I'm happy to it. I'm going to bet that. I'm going to bet that heavily.
Yeah. I like it.
He's going to get a massive target share.
Yep.
And as you talked about, again, the thing you talked about with Diggs, we've talked about this a lot, but like you talked about with Diggs towards the end of the season, having to deal with some bad weather, Amon-Ra won't have that. He will be indoors. 7 of their final 8 games are played in a dome. Lions are going to have a fun offense this year.
Yeah. With this market in particular, you need guys who are number 1 wide receiver options who don't have another guy stealing from them. That's why I don't like Jamar Chase because of T. Higgins. You want guys like Cooper Kupp, like Amon-Ra St. Brown, like Devontae Adams, guys who don't have that competition. I don't like Tyreek Hill in that market, even though he finished second, just because Jalen Waddle's so good. And you're not going to be force-feeding like Stafford is to Kupp.
What are Chris Olave's odds?
He's 35 to 1 for both receiving yards and receptions, I believe. And he's a guy I like as well. But Connor, does he have the frame to really absorb that kind of workload? Because he's a bit smaller than
that was always the question with him, is how is he going to take contact in the middle of the field? You knew he can win off the line of scrimmage and down the field. You'd like to throw him more screens, but I think you do worry about that. And the thing with him, why I'm against him for yards, is he's not great after the catch. He's great, phenomenal before the catch. Right. He's not a big creator after the catch. So I would look for receptions with Olave, not yards.
Yep, 35 to 1.
There we go.
I like it.
All right, the final weekend of draft season is upon us, and what better way to spend it than with us? There are 2 fantasy football happy hour marathons this weekend, including a monster 16-hour marathon on Saturday, beginning at 12 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock.
Watch all 16 hours. Prove to us that you've watched all 16 hours. Tweet at me, at Connor J. Rogers, at Croucher JD. Show us some sort of proof, whether it's a time lapse video or something like that. Prove to us that you've watched all 16 episodes. Maybe a screenshot of you in front of each episode, so we know that, we can, 16 frames or something like that. And you will drink free at the happy hour, and we will put your picture up somewhere here in the bar.
We're taking our first break. When we're back, the wide receiver primer continues with draft strategy.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.